Hello, everyone. This is D2 Kasu, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Summer Leadership Series sponsored by the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and Urban Financial Services Coalition, the DMV group. We are so excited for this year's series. We kicked off the powerful series with Lieutenant General Darrell K. Williams, and who is also president-elect of Hampton University. We had such an exciting session on Monday, and so now we are continuing our effort to talk about personal leadership. And so the president of the Virginia Association of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated had a vision about how can we deepen the leadership ability, talents, and abilities, not only of fellow alpha men, but of our greater community, our brothers and sisters that are professionals or who are in college or who are seasoned professionals. How can we add value to them? And that's where we created the Alpha Leadership Academy. And so with that, I would like to have Mr. Brother Floyd Jones to bring remarks on behalf of the Vacuum Path president.
Thank you so much, D2, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in the Alpha Leadership Academy. We really appreciate you being here. And as D2 has said, you'll be excited to know that we're going to do a lot of things over the course of the curriculum for this time period, which will include leadership development, business performance, training, growth, career development. And we're also planning to have some fantastic and awesome leaders that will help you through this training. Mind you, we know that wherever you are in your career, something that will be said or done during all of the different sessions that we have available will hopefully benefit you in some way. We also encourage you to provide some of your experiences so that they might help others and we can continue to develop and grow as a unit. So thank you so much for participating. On behalf of the Vacuum Phi District Director, Brother Fred Scott, I welcome you and thank you for being here.
All right, let's give Brother Jones a big round of applause. Doesn't he look handsome tonight? Isn't he decked out in his nice alpha regalia?
I think you got that from my closet.
I think I got that from my life box.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we get into our session and introduce our speaker for this evening, we do have a icebreaker question for all of you. And what I would like for you to do is to take a moment and think about, why is it important to have a purpose? Why is it important to have and know your purpose? So just give that some thought. Give you 1 second to think about that, about why is it important to think and know your purpose. Okay, giving you 1 second to think about that. And then what I am going to do is that I am going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So that means you get 1 minute apiece to share your thoughts or ideas with your colleagues in a small breakout room. So it's going to be a short breakout. Make sure everybody gets a chance to go to share that. And then we'll come back, introduce our speaker, and then get on with our session. All right, so I am going to be, we got 3 minutes. And the breakout rooms are now open. So please share why knowing your purpose is important in your breakout rooms. So just click on the link and I'll put you in your room. All right,
There you
welcome
go.
back. Welcome
There you go with
back.
them short minutes, D2. There you go with them short minutes. Always snatching somebody back.
We need 5 minutes.
You need 5 minutes next time?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you all. You know, we give you a little, still want you to want more. So I didn't want to give you too much. So if you would like, go ahead and throw your particular reason why knowing your purpose is important. You can go ahead and throw it in the chat. And I am going to reach out to my good friend from Manassas and just ask Maria if she would share with us her thought live, or other folks put theirs in the chat, why you think that knowing your purpose is important.
I shared that I thought it was important to stay focused and understand your reason to say no, or to be able to say no, to be empowered to say no to certain things. You know, if you focus, you're on track. And someone else shared, it's important to help plan out your goals, which I think is key also. But I think it also helps you understand, once you know your purpose, and if you've got that plan, you kind of see the knowledge gap or the skills gap, and then you can work on filling that gap.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. You hit it out the park. I tell you, those people in Manassas know how to come across with some good stuff. Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you for Lola for putting in the chat. Thank you, Keitra, for putting in the chat. We like when people participate. And so we're setting the stage for today. So I would like to bring up my good friend, Brother John Stanislaus. And John Stanislaus is on the core planning team for the Alpha Leadership Academy. And John is going to introduce our speaker for tonight's program. Mr. John Stanislaus.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hopefully everyone can hear me well and see me well. If my camera is a little bit fuzzy, it's because I believe in the philosophy, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I had this computer for a long time, but I'm going to upgrade it. But beside that, again, thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, Dr. Deran Whitney. He is a native of Hampton, Virginia, my adoptive home, where he attended the Hampton City Schools. He received his BA in elementary education from Christopher Newport University in Newport News, Virginia, a Master's of Science in Education degree from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, and a doctorate from Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia, with a major in educational leadership and policy studies. He's been in the educational system for a very long time. He served as superintendent in Suffolk, Virginia, for beginning in 2011. So when I say he's been in education for a while, he has been in the public education system since 1989. He's an esteemed educator whose educational achievements speak for themselves. His knowledge in education gives him a unique understanding and perspective in leadership on all levels. He's an exemplar, and his granular abilities to explain, educate, and facilitate puts him right here at the perfect moment to discuss how to write a personal mission statement. He is currently an assistant professor in educational leadership and program coordinator for the administration and supervision program at Shenandoah University. So right now, I'd love to turn the floor over to Brother and Dr. Deran Whitney.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for that introduction. The only correction that I'll have is the pronunciation of my name is Deran, and everybody messes it up, but I've come to correct folks just to let them know. I always can tell who has a good phonetic background because that's a short E, D-E-R-A-N, Deran. I'm just
Deran.
All right. First of all, let me say thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for so many of you being here and looking at the names and the location. It's just great to see how diverse the group is, not just by location, but I think age, I would imagine experiences and things of that nature. And I'm a strong believer that diversity enhances us. It allows us to grow. It allows us to see different perspectives. So I'm a huge proponent for diversity, and I think it's something that we should embrace. And we know that's not always the case for a lot of people. But in any case, as John shared with you, I've had a career in public education for 30 years, and I've moved into higher ed, which is a whole different world. This is my 3rd year in higher ed, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it very much. And as I share tonight with you, I'm going to share from my experiences. You know, it's not a matter of bragging. It's not a matter of saying that I know it all, but it's based on what I know, based on what I've done. But I'm open for conversation and discussion. In fact, I promote that. I promote that greatly. In fact, you will notice that throughout this presentation, you will be expected to participate also. And I encourage you to do that, because I do believe, for the most part, the person doing the most talking is doing the most learning. There's research to support that, by the way. I'm going to share my screen. It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting if we didn't share our screen, right? All right, I'm going to share my screen, and I ask you to take a look up here, follow along, and don't hesitate to ask a question. I have my email address up there also, because part of my personal statement or my personal belief is to assist others as much as I can. And I say that sincerely. You know, being a public educator, and I started as was shared in elementary education, oftentimes I was the only Black male in the School of Education when I graduated from CNC at the time. It didn't look anything like it looks now. Christopher Newport, by the way, wonderful school. But when I come across Black men that are going into the field of education, I feel a personal commitment to assist them. Not just Black men, but anybody. But I will say I look out for our Black brothers that are coming through, whether it's becoming a principal, because that's what I teach now. I teach folks how to become that administrator or principal. And I look out for them, because I feel like I had people who look out for me. We have to pay back. Enough said about me. We're going to move on now to asking ourselves the difference between a mission and a vision. I want you to reflect on that. And by the way, if you don't already, just have a piece of paper nearby, because you're going to be asked to write something as we move along near you as well. But I want you to consider, what is the difference between a mission and a vision? And the reason I want to start here is because I think all too often people will use those terms interchangeably. And actually they're not. Without Googling, I'm going to ask that you write it. I'm going to put in the chat, and hopefully you'll be able to copy the link and just indicate on the Jamboard here. And if you're not familiar with Jamboard, if you take a look at the chat, if you click on that, it should open up another window. If you're not familiar with Jamboard, the way that it works is, if you take a look on the left over here, you can choose a sticky, click on it. You can choose your color, yellow, green, blue, or whatever, and just write your answer here. When you're done, just hit save, and it will actually be placed up there. And then we'll go back and talk about it. But I want to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and just each of you answer the question, what is the difference between a mission and a vision? All right, go for it. Remember, on the left-hand side, just click on one of the sticky notes, and then you can start typing. Of course, the question again is, what's the difference between a mission and a vision? All right, for the sake of time, we're going to go on and take a look at what some of you have written, and feel free to elaborate on it. We see one that says, Vision is where you want to go, and mission is how you're going to get there. D2 signed his name. I didn't say you had to sign your name by any means, but certainly welcome to. We have another one here that says mission is what objectives the company wants to achieve. We have vision is how they get there. Mission, how do we deliver mission? How do will deliver our vision? Vision is the end goal. Mission is the path to actively achieve. Vision is the big picture and mission is how. All right. Thank you all for participating in that. And we're going to take a look at what research suggests as far as this is concerned. If you take a look at the vision statement for many companies, it focuses on tomorrow and what an organization wants to ultimately become. Now, many school divisions, you know, what I'm familiar with, they have vision statements, and it's basically saying where we want to go. While a mission statement focuses on today and what an organization or person does to achieve it. Both are vital in directing your goals. So when I think of vision versus mission, the mission is what we stand for, okay? What do we stand for? And the vision is where we'd like to be. For example, if you were to consider, if some of you still associated with public schools in some way, and you looked at the school's mission statement or the vision statement, it will probably say something like, vision statement, we want to create lifelong learners and to live successfully in this global society and things of that nature is what they'd like to do. As far as the mission statement, once again, it's going to suggest, what do you stand for? This is what we stand for. Every company should have a mission. Every company should have a vision also. Every school should have one. Any organization should have one. Our fraternity has a mission, and as should any organization, once again, should have just that. As we take a look at and unpack this, and we consider some mission statements, take a look at the 4 companies on the left. And I know some of them you may not have heard of, that's so well and so good, but we have their mission statements for each one on the right-hand side. So what I'd like for you to do is to just number that sheet of paper that you have 1 through 4, and take a look, and which one do you think stands for each of the mission statements here? Ikea, American Express, Sweet Green, and TED. Take maybe 1 minute to do that, if you will. Need more time? How are we doing? One of the things about my years of teaching, there's this thing, those of you in education, you're familiar with the term wait time, and I'm terrible with wait time. Wait time is the time you're supposed to wait to let the student or whomever answer or think. I'm usually just still talking. So I work on that. All right, so how many of you think, anybody think they have all 4? Anyone? D2, you should, you've seen this before. All right, take a look. We have IKEA to create a better everyday life for the many people. Now, I don't know how many of you, and I hope no one works for IKEA or has any stock in IKEA, but my daughter has ordered some furniture from IKEA. If it comes in a little small box and it's something big, just be ready to spend the whole day putting it together, okay? And it still won't be right. But IKEA states that to create a better everyday life for the many people, and those of you not familiar with IKEA, it is a furniture store that has rather innovative types furniture. It seems like the younger generation tends to like that. American Express, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that. Its mission is, we work hard every day to make blank the world's most respected service brand, and that is American Express. Sweet Green is an eatery, focuses on vegetables. It is to inspire healthier communities by connecting people to real food. So I think it is what they consider clean food. You know, I did that whole clean diet for about a week. Didn't help a whole lot. And then there's TED. I'm sure some of you are familiar with TED Talks. It says spread ideas. Notice how short that is, but very powerful. And a TED Talk, a TED organization is where you can find bits of information, speeches, presentations, and things of that nature. But the purpose of this was to show examples of how these companies have developed a mission statement. And it, again, is a matter of what does it stand for? What does this company stand for? TED stands for spreading ideas. Sweet Green stands for inspiring healthy communities by connecting people to real food. All right. So let's move on if we can. Let's see. As we talk about today's objectives, we're going to talk about what is a personal mission statement. And I think we pretty much kind of summed that up when you talked about your purpose, or what is a purpose. We're also going to get into the nuts and bolts of how to write a personal mission statement. In some cases, it may be revisiting your personal mission statement, which I think personally we should be revisiting it often. Also, challenging your self-limiting beliefs, because we all have those self-limiting beliefs. Some allow them to be in the forefront more readily than others, which prevents us from trying new things, prevents us from being those risk takers. But we're also going to talk about identifying our career goals. And, you know, I'm a strong believer that we should always have goals, regardless of our age, regardless of where we are in our career. What's that next goal? And you know, I think we sometimes think that that goal has to be the next level up, but it may not be. It may be you just want to learn a foreign language because it's something you always wanted to do. It may be you want to learn to play the piano. It may very well be your career goal. I would imagine those of you who are just starting out in your careers are at middle management and you do have goals or aspirations to move up. And then actually creating a personal mission statement. So let's talk about the what, the why, the how, and the when. When we look at the what, a personal mission statement defines who you are as a person. And when we had the breakout activity as far as developing or talking about purpose, you can see how this is tightly aligned with this. We talk about a person, but it can be as a team member or where you work. It also identifies your purpose, whether at work or simply in life. It explains how you aim to pursue that purpose and why it matters so much to you. You know, as a superintendent, and, you know, I served as a superintendent for 9 years. Those of you not familiar with Suffolk, it's the 17th largest division in the state of Virginia. A lot of people don't know that. About 14,000 students at the time. Virginia has a lot of small counties, but the 17th largest, and the superintendent reports to a board. Okay, so the superintendent doesn't have just one boss, they have 7 or 5, however many members on the board. But the interesting thing about it is that one person can't make a decision or can't direct the superintendent. Not all of them know that, but they can. But in any case, I can remember oftentimes I'd have one board member who went to a workshop and they'd say, you know, Dr. Whitney, we need to do such and such and such and such. I saw it over in this division and it worked well. We need to do it here. And I tried to get into the habit of saying, is it aligned with our mission? You know, is it aligned with what we stand for? And does it support our vision? And you know, I got real good at saying, let me explore that, or we'll explore that. I never told them no, but I said, let me explore that. And when I made a decision, it was based on whether or not it was aligned with our mission. You know, and that's that out. And when we were in groups just a few minutes ago, breakout groups, I really like what Marie was sharing. She said, it allows you to say no. And the reason you can say no is because you can say, you know, that's not aligned with our mission here in this company, or our family, or personally with me. You know how you have that friend sometimes that may ask you to do something and you're thinking, I really don't want to do this because it's just not right. You don't want to tell them that, but the reason you don't want to do it is because it's not aligned with who you are and what you stand for. So why do we need a personal mission statement? And this goes back to the whole purpose as well. It helps you focus on how to reach your long-term goal. You know, I don't know what your goals were years ago, but I would imagine if you had a solid mission statement or a mission, and sometimes we don't write it down. I always encourage people that we should write it down. But if we have that mission and we tailor things to move in that direction, to stay true to that, it helps us reach that long-term goal. It also serves as a guidepost for where you want to go in life. You know, in our group discussion, even though it was only 3 minutes, one of the things we talked about is that oftentimes those who are not doing well in life, and when I say doing well, they're not focused, it's usually because they really don't have that mission statement. And notice, I'm not suggesting it's about money. I'm not suggesting it's a certain position, but when they're not focused, when they don't have that mission statement, they don't have those guideposts, in a sense, to help them stay focused. A person without a mission is generally a person that is not focused, okay? Keeps you from wandering off track, and that goes exactly to what I've said as well. If you're jumping from here and there, I started at Christopher Newport majoring in computer technology because everybody was. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody was majoring in computer technology. They said it was gonna be money in that. And then I changed to business administration. That was a popular major, but I always knew I really liked working with young people. And when I really went back to that, what I stood for, what was a part of me, that's when I met that success. So how do we create a personal mission statement? There are 5 steps, actually. We want to challenge our self-limiting beliefs, and when you hear the term self-limiting belief, what do you think that might be? What might be an example of that? Anyone? No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, the way you second guess yourself.
Yeah.
And just stop yourself from jumping in.
Oftentimes we think of why we can't do it versus why we can do it, or how can we make it work. And I think everybody's guilty with that. I certainly have been very guilty of that as well. As a matter of fact, I can think of a time where, when I was considering pursuing my doctorate, it was a matter of, do I have the time for that? I got this job at the time. I was assistant superintendent. I said, do I really have the time for that? Or I think I was in the middle of the program. And I was like, I'm assistant superintendent. You know what? I've met a huge goal. I can stop right here. I had those self-limiting beliefs that I was finding a reason why not to do it versus why we should do it. Anybody else as far as self-limiting beliefs?
This is D2.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is self-limiting beliefs are either beliefs that we have developed about ourselves that's not based on reality. Mm-hmm. Either we, created, based upon because we were young and we had a limited idea of what is possible, right, or how we have interpreted the way the world have treated us, or way we have interpreted things that have happened to us, and we create this belief around it.
Oh yeah, it becomes the assumption, in the sense, becomes your reality, but it's almost like you let somebody do that to you. You let them suggest that you can't, or that you shouldn't be here. I think we probably all have had an experience to where you had that look like, what are you doing here? And then you start second guessing yourself, like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. I try to turn that into, I'm here and I'm loud and proud to be here. I'm here just as much as you're here, and I'm supposed to be here, type of thing. It also speaks to, when we talk about developing a personal mission statement, identifying core values, identifying our core values. And we're going to do a quick activity with that in just a few moments. But also identifying personal interests. Again, I'll use my example. I like helping people. I like teaching and learning. It wasn't a lot of Black men or young men going into elementary education. It simply wasn't. I even had my brothers like, you want to be a teacher, elementary school teacher? Yeah, that's what I want to do. And and I'll be the first to say, I doubted myself sometimes. I was, I probably will regret sharing this, but I weighed 85 pounds when I got my learner's permit. Okay, 85 pounds. And so I was not like the, I know it's hard to believe, but I wasn't the star athlete. I was the nerd, I guess. But I always said I wanted that bumper sticker, careful how you treat nerds, one day they'll be your boss, because it happened. But you know, it's sticking with that personal interest as to what you're interested in. And then identifying your goals. What are your goals in life? You know, and again, when we talk about goals, it's not just our career goals. It can be goals as far as family goals. It can be goals as, you know, as far as what you want to do in life in general. And then actually writing the mission statement. So let's check that understanding that we just talked about as far as self-limiting beliefs. Identifying what your limiting beliefs are, you know. Am I good enough? Can I do it? Am I smart enough? You know, so many people think that the whole doctorate thing is like, oh, you must be very smart. And it's really not anything to do with smartness. It's more so perseverance. You know, if you've been in a fraternity or sorority, there's this term that we no longer see called hazing. But as far as getting your doctorate, there's this term called academic hazing, where, you know, the professors are telling you one thing this week and then next week they change it. And you're like, you just told me this, you know, you go through that process as well. You know, and it is a matter of, can I do this? Identify the root causes of those beliefs. And I think this goes back to D2. Sometimes I think we have that self-doubt or that limiting belief is because of what we've been told. And unfortunately, sometimes it can be our family members. And that's not any disrespect to family members, because sometimes it's from where they came from, as far as where they thought or what they saw. You know, I can remember specifically, and I'm not getting into politics, but I can remember an older family member said that they were not going to vote for Barack Obama because they knew a Black man wasn't going to be president. They said, and they were Black, they said, it's not going to happen, it's a wasted vote. And I think those same types of thoughts have been said when Hillary Clinton ran. It was a matter of some women and some men, for this particular reason, there were other reasons, but said that, oh, we're not ready for a woman yet. You know, we're not. Now imagine if Hillary, and we know Hillary would not, but imagine if Hillary heard that enough to start self-doubting, to have it as a limiting belief, if you will. So you want to challenge your belief. You know, if the person says you can't, and I think personally, and I think many of you probably can relate to this, you do have to challenge your belief. If you can't think you can't, you have to push yourself so that you can. And journal your thoughts and beliefs. Now, you know, some people might laugh at that, whether it's a formal journal, whether it's a reflective mental journal, but making certain that you have those key phrases that when you feel like you're having that self-belief, that you can snap out of it in a sense and say, you know what, I can do this just like I didn't think I could do XYZ. I'm certain that I can. So that's how you're going to challenge your self-beliefs, self-limiting beliefs rather. Identifying your core values is the next step. And when we talk about this, we talk about identifying and writing down, we talk about what you stand for, what you feel like you stand for. Here's what I want us to do next. I want you to identify and write down or think of 3 people who are important role models or valued connections for you. 3 people in your life. It can be anyone. Think of the values that they embody. In other words, what values did you see in them as to why? Well, it actually will define why they are important to you. And then you're going to list one person's name and 1 or 2 of their admired values, okay? So you're thinking of that person, 3 people, you're going to choose 1 of them, think of the values that you see in them, and then you're going to list, and we're going to ask for a few people to share. It's another Jamboard. Jamboard, by the way, and I have no stock in Google, is a Google product, and it's very easy to use when you're working with a group. See if you're able to get into that. Actually, you should have been able to because it was the same one. And if you go back to the original page, you'll notice at the top, you can just go forward or backwards here. List one person's name and 1 or 2 of the admired values. Remember, you're going to use the sticky over to the left.
Dr. Whitney, I hope I got the instruction right, just the name, because
No, the name and then the 3 values that you admire about them.
okay.
2
All
or
right, I
3.
only added 2, so I'll add a third. Thank you.
Mhm. I don't know who moved my text up here, but we're gonna forgive them this time. All right. Take one more minute. Remember, you're going to put the person's name, but you're also going to list the values, 2 or 3 of the values. All right, I'm gonna just call on somebody by reading them and ask you to elaborate if you don't mind. Let's start with who wrote Dr. Robinson, perseverance, tenacity, and growth. Who wants to elaborate on that?
That was me, Dr. Whitney. Actually, Dr. Robinson is the pastor of my church.
Mhm.
And the reason I put down those 3 qualities because he's demonstrated that over the past 2 or 3 years, especially during COVID, after the first year of COVID, he had a stroke
Mm.
and spent a lengthy amount of time recovering. But over the last 6 to 8 months or so, has done a tremendous job of persevering through all of the adversity, the challenges. Also, demonstrating that tenacity by continue to that drive, and has also shown a lot of growth and helped a lot of us to grow as well through a lot of his different messaging.
Absolutely. Good. Good. You listed the specific examples, which makes it very clear as to why you admire those particular values. All right. Who wrote Trisha with ethical, loyal, and confident? All right. Marie, you want to elaborate?
Sure. Ethical, just is. I mean, and I think it I don't want to say to a fault without, I mean, at the core to be that way and to know that she always stands for something that is good, right, and I mean, that's honorable to me. Loyal, will go to bat for the people that are in her inner circle. And confident is inspiring.
Right.
So I think I could use a lot of the adjectives that I see on other people's chart, but that's what came to mind.
And that's not uncommon. But I think the piece that I always find interesting when I do something like this is that we usually have no problem citing so many characteristics of that person that we admire because they have so many values that we do indeed admire. Let's take one more. Great grandmother, loyalty and positivity. Who was that? You want to cite some examples?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I chose my great grandmother because one thing that she always showed was positivity in terms of like encouragement, like whatever goals you had, whatever thoughts you had or doubts you had, she always knew how to reassure you and push you forward to keep going. And also in terms of that's positivity, and then loyalty to her family, like no matter how no matter what mistakes you made or if you failed at a task or a goal, she always would keep pushing you forward and she would love you for who you were. So that's something that I always admired about my great grandmother.
Excellent. That unconditional love and loyalty. And notice how we're seeing some of the same values on several of the stickies. Was there anyone that had a burning one that you just wanted to share and elaborate on? I'll give you a minute right now. Anybody?
Well, I would like to bring up my grandmother as well
Okay.
because, she was solid in her beliefs and stuff, and she would also encourage you. And if she was the type of individual, if you said you were going to do something, she would make sure that you fulfilled your dreams. And she would always be that person that said, if you see it, you believe it, you can achieve it.
Mm,
So that's, something that I have always had in my head and stuff. And she would always tell us as we were growing up, prepare yourself for the future.
mm.
If you go into doing something, know that you can do it. And if you can't do it, figure out how you can do it. And then one of her favorite saying is, first of all, baby, they don't know what you don't know. Okay? Figure it out. Show up, show out, and be present.
Mm. It's
Okay?
it's amazing how we can remember verbatim those sayings. My dad's 87 years old, and he used to say, anything worth doing is worth doing well, and
Yes.
regardless of the job that you're doing. He's and I joke him, 87 and still on top of news. I mean, I can start sharing a story with him and he'll correct me. No, I don't think they said that, what they said. And I'm like, okay, and you gotta love it. I'll tell this one story and then we'll move on. For Father's Day, my brother and sister, we were planning everything, and I called Dad. I said, okay, so you're gonna get, he said, nobody needs to get sodas, and I have water. And I said, well, Dad, do you have bottled water? And he said, yeah, I have water. And I said, well, what kind of water? He said, I drink water out of the faucet like you used to. I thought, yeah, you're right. I did used to. But things just stick with you. I wrote the 3 characteristics: smart, humble, and proactive. And that proactive, always thinking ahead, and always making us think ahead as well. Thank you all for participating in that. Let's move on. So then we've gone through step 1, we're going through step 2. Now we're moving to step 3, identifying personal interest. I would imagine out of the 16 people in here, I would say maybe 30% of you probably started a career and changed that career because it really wasn't what you wanted to do. It maybe perhaps wasn't a personal interest. Anybody willing to share that? If indeed it hadn't happened?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I happen to have a chemistry degree and started out wanting to work in the lab in research and development. And started working in environmental, and midway my career, I decided, wow, I'm not really helping people. I had a desire to help people. My entire family they were all educators, principals, guidance counselors, and I wanted to help people. And so I switched to working with small businesses, and it's so much more fulfilling.
Oh, yeah.
Versus working on permit applications for outfalls and things of that nature. And so now I have a true impact, and I live to impact others positively and help them with their small businesses. Yeah,
Wonderful.
quite rewarding. Yep.
Good example. Very good example. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Trudy.
Hi,
Trudy
Trudy.
Hall. I started out at University of Missouri in education. My family has a background in education. I wanted to be different, so I did the educable mentally retarded. That's what it was called back in the day.
Sure.
Started out in education, got married, had a family, went to work for a bank, and have done the last 50 years of my career in banking. But in my career with banking, I've had the opportunity to coach and mentor young people. So for the last 10 years, I've been living my education dream while working for a bank.
Wow. Okay. Neat. And it's funny because sometimes it goes full circle. And when folks, and I can't help but think of our younger generation, because our younger generation, they have been conditioned to think, I've got to have the most toys before I die. I've got to have the most money before I die. And I know we all need money and we all like money and we like nice things. But we also got to like what we're doing. My thought is if you can't get up in the morning and look forward to going to work, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, then you have to step back and consider your personal interests. And if what you're doing is staying true to who you are and what you want to do. So let's move on and talk about identifying personal interests and strengths. What are you passionate about? I would like to think that most of us are in a career that we're passionate about. When I retired after 30 years in public education, I wasn't done. I still wanted to help, and I've always liked teaching. Being an administrator, going into the superintendency, and I pray for my buddies who are still superintendents because boards are getting. Oh, that's right. This is being recorded. They're becoming more challenging, let's say. But I'm still passionate about teaching and learning. And so I thought, my dad's 87, my mom's 82. So the expectancy for me may be in the 80s. So I'm certainly not done in life, I'd like to think, if I live carefully. And so what could I do? Well, I wanted to teach college. I had done some adjunct and we relocated and on tenure track to continue this because that was my passion. How does your passion relate to your values? In my case, and I would like anyone to share as well, it's a matter of I like helping people. I like seeing people grow. I like it when folks say, thank you so much for helping me, or we learn together type of thing. And then what do you excel in and what skills have you developed? You've got to choose a career that you're good in. I'm not going to talk about my daughter who majored in fashion merchandising and got a bachelor's and then got a master's and cybersecurity, and now is working for a nonprofit and is enjoying it. I praise her for getting those degrees, but you got to do what you got to do and what you like doing and what you think you can excel in. Anybody else have any examples of identifying that personal interest and strengths and how you have stayed on track with that, or maybe getting on track with that to stay true to yourself? In my graduate classes, when there's no response, I usually say, is my mic on? All right.
I would like to share.
Go for it.
For me, I really started out as an internal auditor for a bank, and that was one of the ways I wanted to help people be compliant, right? And no matter how good I was at helping people to find the systematic problems, no one was ever excited about seeing the internal auditor. No one was excited about that. And my boss at the time, her name was Dinah, and she noticed that I wasn't getting the energy. And she recommended me to be in another program. It was a management training program at the time. And the moment that she recommended me, I think I never cried at work before, but I cried at work that day because, I was really struggling with how I use my passion, my skills and abilities in a way to add value in the world where I got that back from the world.
Right.
And so that was extremely helpful to me. And, I've gone on and done a lot of different things, and I've always found jobs that further extended and provided more clarity for me. So like the sales was great, but it wasn't as good as working with leaders and empowering leaders to do what they're up to, to make a difference in the world. And so that's where I've kind of evolved to, and that's why I volunteer my time, doing is to working with leaders.
Excellent. Good example. Very, very on target example. Thank you for sharing that. When we look at step 4, it talks about identifying goals. We want to spend time thinking about your priorities in life, whether we're talking about career goals, life goals, personal goals. What do you want to accomplish? I keep joking about my daughter, but when we have our Zoom meetings, I do Zoom or sometimes, we go through some of this right here. Well, what do you really want to do? Don't worry about what your friends are doing. Don't worry about what you see on Facebook. What do you want to do and what do you enjoy? And I think that's what we have to ask ourselves. Consider short-term up to 3 years and long-term beyond 3 years. You know, in some cases, we refer to this, I think, what we have on our bucket list. You know, I want to do this, I want to do this. And some folks will say, I want to do this by 40, I want to do this by 50, I want to do this by 60. I think that in order to keep us going, we always have to have ongoing goals, new goals. Once you meet one, create another one, and then practice the steps or implement the steps to help yourself get there. The fifth part, the final piece to this, is writing our mission statement. All right, so let's take a look at what are those guiding questions as we write this, and we're going to do this. What's important to you? Where do I want to go? What does the best look like for me? How do I want to act in order to get there? And what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? These are guiding questions when writing our mission statement. If we were to look at some additional tips, what generally helps is to keep it short. You know, we don't want to become too wordy. And the reason we want to keep it short is because you kind of want to memorize it. You know, whether it's a matter of memorizing it or putting a little sticky on your computer where you can see it and it helps you stay focused, stay on path. Be true to yourself. And when I see be true to yourself, it's a matter of, you know, and some of you will disagree with this, but, you know, we have sometimes an education, we'll have people say, you can be whatever you want to be. And there's some truth to that, but there is no way I can play pro basketball. Okay. I'm just not coordinated enough and I'm not tall enough. Okay. Again, I know on screen, I look very athletic. I get that. I'm joking, but the reality of it is we have to be true to ourselves. So I wouldn't discourage anyone for trying something or becoming better at something, but we do have to stay true to ourselves and get feedback. And I think when we talk about get feedback, it's getting feedback from those that you feel will give you, what's that term we use a lot? Give you quality feedback. And when I say quality feedback, it's not just good job or that's good, but can have some conversation. That's not everyone. I think those are the true friends, family member, or whomever that you can sit down and have that feedback conversation with or quality conversation with. And I say this particularly when I'm talking to young people. It's not a matter of someone telling you what to do because I don't think they should or can, but it's a matter of having some conversation about it. You know, talking with someone that you trust, someone you value, that person you value would be the best person. So let's take a look at what we're going to use next. I'm going to put this in the chat. It's going to require you to make a copy. Another Google, let's see, another Google app. Make sure that you're able to open that up. It should look like this when you open it. And again, the goal is, what all these messages are, the goal is, and yeah, I know I have a lot of windows open, I apologize. It's to allow your guiding questions to help develop your actual personal mission statement. For example, what is important to you? You're going to write on the right-hand side, what's important. Where do I want to go? All right, with that, what's important to you, or whether it's career or life, what does the best look like for me? You know, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Brene Brown, who is the author of Dare to Lead, Dare to Lead. And she talks about oftentimes supervisors, when they give projects to people, they may describe what the project should entail, but a clarifying question is, what does done look like? In other words, what does the finished product, what should it look like? So what does the best look like for me as far as when you're writing these, using these prompts? And how do I want to act? In other words, how is it going to allow you to get there? You know, if you want to, and I'm going to use I'm into health and fitness. I'm not claiming to be the healthiest or the fittest. But if you're working to get that 6-pack abs and you're eating fried chicken every day, you're not acting like you really want to get to that goal or is true to that mission. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Those are the prompts that should help you. Now, keep in mind that when you answer these prompts or guiding questions, it's not necessarily going to be specifically in your personal mission statement, but it will help develop your personal mission statement. Questions or comments, anyone? Was everyone able to open the document? All right, well, why don't we take, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
I think someone was not able to open it.
Okay, who's not able to open it?
This is Trudy. I'm not able to open it, but my work system doesn't allow Google Docs, Google anything.
Where in the world do you work? No, I'm kidding.
Highly secured.
I understand. I understand completely.
But I wrote the questions down, so I'll respond.
Excellent. All right. So let's take about, and this may not be enough time because you do want to reflect on it, but let's take about 5 to 7 minutes. D2, are we good with time? If we take 5 to 7 minutes, come back, and then maybe have a few people share what they've come up with as far as their draft personal mission statement. But before we move on, before you get to that, I want you to take a look at these personal mission statements. And I share these, sometimes we refer to these as exemplars or anchor papers in the world of education. Sometimes I don't like giving samples because people think it needs to look like that, but all adults here, you're going to create your own. But take a look at these personal mission statements. And I'm not going to read all of them, but Oprah Winfrey's, to be a teacher and to be known for inspiring my students to be more than they thought they could be. How powerful is that? Walt Disney's, very simple, to make people happy. Take a look at Maya Angelou, not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style, okay? So if we go back to our document here, and consider the example personal mission statements and using the guiding questions, you should be able to come up with a pretty good mission statement. Questions or comments as to what we're going to do for the next 5 minutes? All right, go for it. I'm going to set my timer to 5. Have about 2 more minutes. All right, that's our time. Let's see who's willing to share what they've done. And we know it's a working draft. And I think it's important to realize that indeed it is a working draft. You may find yourself changing it. You may find yourself adjusting it and revisiting it. And that's perfectly fine. Is there anyone willing to share what they've come up with as far as their personal mission statement?
Again, this is Trudy, and I'll jump in the deep end.
Okay.
I am at a pivotal point in my career, looking at retirement and thinking about what my next chapter is, what my next gig is. And thinking about my passions, what I came up with as a mission statement is to help people, particularly young people, build confidence, embrace their strengths, challenge their fears, and find joy in just being.
All right. All right. You know, and if we were to go back to, let me go ahead here to talk about the actual guiding questions, you can sense what's important to Judy. You can sense where she wants to go with this. You can sense also what kind of legacy she'd be leaving or would like to leave behind as well. Thank you, Trudy, for sharing that. Who else is willing to share? Is my mic on?
Dr. Whitney, I think I'd like to take a shot at it.
Go for it. You muted yourself.
I have muted myself. I should be on mute now. I based it on the 5 questions, what is important to me and so forth. What I came up with is to be a leader who is able to help others reach their goals through vigor and perseverance while being remembered as an effective leader and an enabler.
Wow, I like that. Very specific, very specific. And you can tell all 5 of those components were clearly included in that.
Yes.
Definitely. All right. Who else is willing to share? Go for it, Marie.
I'm just going to change a word.
Okay.
Oh, am I muted?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I I drafted it as to wake up, but I think I'll change that to go to sleep
Okay.
each night, knowing that my life is an inspiration to someone and encourages them to be their best self without fear.
Wow. I like that. And you know, the without fear piece, expound on that if you will. I mean, I have an idea what that means to me, but why did you add that piece?
Because because I've been doing things that are on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe hasn't been as inspiring, or I haven't been true to my purpose, to use some of the words we used tonight.
Right.
And then in my volunteerism life, that's when I get to be to live my purpose, so to speak.
Right.
So I think that oftentimes, well, I know that I was very hesitant to jump off the career track
Mm-hmm.
and follow my passion, if there's such a thing, follow my passion, or
Sure.
the side that I gladly do, even though I don't have time, but I'll find the time to do on a Saturday. So
Yeah.
I think I'd like someone to learn from that, maybe.
Oh, it makes perfect.
Might not be as lucrative, it may not be, but it would drive you to wake up in the morning, and then when you go to sleep at night,
Yes.
stress-free, you've done your part.
And that's a good feeling. I mean, I think it's a really good feeling. You know, one of the reasons I've been in education is because I feel good about helping people and I sleep well at night. When I was superintendent and, you know, board members, community members didn't like a decision that I made and they would come at me, or, you know, the newspaper would write something, I still slept well at night because I knew I was doing what was best for kids. You know, I was doing what I felt was the right thing to do. And I think that's so important, without fear. I like that piece. Annette, I saw you turn your camera on. I took it because you wanted to share.
So that wasn't my intention, but I can share.
Okay, go for it. 30
all
years of
right.
education, go for it.
All righty. So my statement is be a servant leader in my family, small business community, and leave all I encounter with hope and laughter.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you shared. See, I'm glad you were called on. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Servant leader. How do you define servant leader?
Servant leader is literally leading with others in mind. What you're doing is solely for someone else.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so.
Good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take one more before we close or open it up for any questions or comments.
I'll be happy to share mine.
Go for it.
So mine is to be a child of God with a deep relationship with God that enables me to become a man of change so that I can make the difference in the lives of others.
I like that, a man of change. You know, so often folks, we're afraid of change, but it's inevitable. And so I feel like, and clearly you feel this way, to embrace it, you know, and make the best out of it. That's great. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, folks, that concludes what we wanted to share today about personal mission statements. I'll open it up for any questions, or you notice I say answers because you may have some input that we didn't hit on, or discussions if something piqued your interest and you'd like to discuss. Anyone, this is the time.
Dr. Whitney, I had something to add in relations to what we just did, creating this personal mission statement. I created personal mission statements, and to me, we constantly have to change it based on the direction that we're going in our lives or something new that has come up in our lives. So I always tend to think a mission statement is not written in stone. You
Right.
can always have the opportunity of revising and revisiting that. Over.
Absolutely. I think it's a work in progress by all means. Yes.
Dr. Whitney, also, just to kind of add to that, and the mission statement is kind of twofold too, because it could be for looking at a change in career, but it also could be something that you're reconnecting within your family circle too.
Absolutely.
You know, because I'm at a point now, right now, where mine's is changing more toward going back within my family because of a couple things that have happened.
Right.
Where I'm actually stepping down for my position in October, because two things have happened. I have a 42-year-old nephew who at the beginning of this year ended up getting COVID, and they don't know if it's directly related, but he's renal failure. He's never been in a hospital a day in his life, and he's going through some changes dealing with the fact that he may be on dialysis for the rest of his life, or if he's blessed to get a kidney transplant. And if that works for him, he'll be able to get through it. But he's struggling with dealing with that fact because he's, been used to being, taking care of himself, helping take care of his mom. Now he's in the situation where somebody has to take care of him, and his mother is not able to do it by herself. And then I have a great grandson who's just been diagnosed, had a tumor removed. He's have cancer, and he'll start radiation treatments next week. So I'll be stepping down to help deal with those situations and stuff. So my new mission is focusing on the family and being there for them and dealing with those situations and stuff. So my purpose is to help them and be on their journey, and it's a new journey for them. And it's a journey of, self-healing and rediscovering, working with the family to make sure that both of them have, the coverage that they need, being there where somebody's always present with them, right alongside, God, knowing that they're not alone, whatever they go through, whether it's their feelings, their emotions, whatever they need, someone is there through the family, through church to help support them and stuff. So that's a whole another type of working within my talents, as far as being a leader and being strong, because you have to show up and be present to let them know that we're all here in that circle. And I've been very fortunate, especially working with D2 and the leadership and the things that he shared with me have given me a greater strength and a greater purpose. So I'm so glad that he invited me to participate in this so that I can see that it's all about how you show up and how present you are and what you bring with you that helps you be able to face these type of different things.
Oh, I agree. Thank you for sharing. That's a lot that you're going through, but I appreciate you sharing that because it's proof that we do have to revisit our mission, our goals, and our purpose based on our situations. That's a perfect example of that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Emmanuel, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, in terms of like making mission statements, how do you try to separate like the short-term parts of it and the long-term parts of it that could really lead to the overall success of your mission statement?
I think the mission statement is going to be solid, but it may change as we talked about, but then you're going to have short-term goals and long-term goals. And those goals can be what is very fluid and changes perhaps even more often than the actual mission statement. Oftentimes, those short-term goals is what's going to help you get to that long-term goal. But the big umbrella, in most cases, should be that mission statement. Because even though Lola, I think it is, talks about changing her mission statement, I bet if we dug deep enough that your mission statement, because if you're willing to stop your career and help the family as you are, that was part of your mission to begin with as well. Even though you were focusing on career, you still had that piece of helping others. I don't think people change by any means. It's just a matter of now I have different goals aligned specifically with that mission, or my mission focuses more on this piece of it type of thing.
Well, that is true, because because that's what I did. I worked with communities, helping them solve problems within the communities. 'Cause, in my career, I'm a urban forester, which I had to work with people building different things, doing project work, and it was always interacting with people.
Right.
Yes.
Good.
And sometimes they work your last nerve, but you still have to deal with them. Okay.
Understood. Any other questions or comments? This has been a great session. I want to say to each of you, thank you so much for your participation. It's a late evening, but and it was, I don't know where you are, but weather was very nice here, but you took the time to be here. And, as I said before, in many mission statements or vision statements, we talk about being a lifelong learner. And I'm one of those. I commit to lifelong learning, to where you can never know it all or too much. So thank you for being here, and I'll stop there and turn it back over to D2 or Brother Jones.
All right, thank you so much. And Brother Whitney, if you don't mind, you hit the stop screen sharing.
Yes.
That would be great. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise. And we're so excited because the good doctor is going to be back with us for the second part of our series. So we're doing the first part of our series is about leading self. So when we're talking about leadership development and changing the world and changing circumstances and transforming jobs, most people focus on other folks. And so what we have done is we want to focus on changing you, right? Because the more you're able to change yourself, the more you're able to influence and impact others. The second part of the series, which we're going to have in July, is going to focus on leading others, right? So once you've gotten good at effectively leading yourself, and now you want to increase your impact, right? You increase your impact through your ability to get things done through other people. John Maxwell, #1 leadership guru in the world, says one is too small of a number to make a significant change in the world. So when you look at anyone in the world, they usually have involved and got other people involved in whatever they're trying to do. And so today I'm so happy that we've had Dr. Whitney. We got him involved. We got him enrolled. It didn't take much. We didn't have to twist his arm. We just had to get a date that worked for him and a time that worked for him. And he is amazing. So let's give him a big round of applause and a big clap in the chat for this. We will be making the slides available for those who want to do some more work. And we want to encourage you to go ahead and write it down. And if you want to send it in to us, please send it in to us. We'll be happy to give you some feedback. Part of growing is through doing. And you can do that by having what we call deliberate practice. And so before we close out, Dr. Whitney, do you want to give any inspiring closing remarks in reference to the power of leadership and why it's important for us to effectively lead ourselves?
Well, I think one of the shortest or best quote that I think about as far as being a leader, and I didn't always subscribe to this because I was young and foolish, I guess. But in order to lead well, you have to be willing to follow also. And I again, I deal with young principals or new people. I remember myself, you think you're going in there, you're the big boss, you're a big man on campus, but you look back, nobody's following you, So in order to lead well, one has to be willing to follow as well. That's it.
Oh, that is amazing. That reminds me of this gentleman that we have. His name is Bruce Thomas that I work with. He does a presentation called The Power of First Followers. So it really talks about followership. Most people are trying to lead without figuring out how to follow. There's a power in being a follower and being the first follower, because that tells all the other followers that it's okay to follow. So powerful message. So thank you, Dr. Whitney. We're looking forward to your next session. That's going to be on, how do you create strategic plans for organizations that you lead? So you're not going to want to miss that. That's going to be in July. We'll get the date out to all of you. And we'll be meeting again next week. Next week, we have Daryl Matthews. Daryl Matthews is the former president and CEO of, so many national nonprofits, the Black Data Processors, the Black CPAs. He was also the 32nd general president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So at 6:30, he is going to be talking about the power of leadership to transform your life and the life of others. So he'll be talking about that on the 26th. And then on June the 4th, we have Mr. Oliver Allen, and he's going to be talking about the power of mentoring and coaching, how you can get a mentor and a coach to accelerate your growth at whatever you're trying to accomplish. And so with that, I'd like to say, to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I want to thank the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Urban Financial Services Coalition, and my key partners in success, Brother Stanislaus and Brother Jones, and Brother Glover in the absence, and Brother Philip Wilkerson, and Brother Allen, for coordinating and leading this Alpha Leadership Academy. So with that, you can unmute yourself and you can say good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Have a blessed week, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, D2.